Terence Crawford has always fought as if violence itself could be refined, shaped, and turned into something almost elegant. From the moment he first stepped into a professional ring, there was a quiet certainty about him, an understanding that he was not merely learning how to win fights, but learning how to control them. Every movement, every adjustment, every sudden burst of cruelty carried intention. Over time, that intention became unmistakable. Crawford was not just beating opponents, he was breaking their rhythm, their confidence, and eventually, their will. What emerged across years of destruction was not chaos, but a kind of brutal art form, one painted with timing, patience, and devastating precision. In the early days, before the titles, before the pound-for-pound debates, Crawford was simply a prospect trying to carve space in a crowded boxing world. Back in July of 2011, he entered the ring against Derek Campos, a fighter with far more professional rounds and experience. On paper, Campos was supposed to test the young Crawford, maybe slow him down, maybe expose something unfinished. Instead, that experience meant nothing once the bell rang. Crawford's demeanor was calm, almost detached, but his punches told a different story. They were sharp, sudden, and cruelly accurate. Campos was dragged into a pace he could not survive, and within just 2 rounds, the fight was over. It wasn't dramatic in the traditional sense, but it was definitive. Crawford didn't simply win. He erased any doubt that he belonged. For Campos, it marked the end of a career. For Crawford, it was the first glimpse of the destroyer he would become. Crawford was still unknown to much of the boxing public, grinding forward on undercards, chasing relevance the only way fighters can, with performances too violent to ignore. Andre Georges stood in front of him with a respectable record and the belief that he belonged in that ring. Early on, Crawford used his reach and patience, measuring, studying, drawing reactions. In the 4th round, a clean shot sent Georges to one knee, the delay in his response telling a story his body couldn't hide. By the very next round, Crawford ended it brutally. A clean sequence landed flush, dropping Georges' face first, and the referee didn't even bother with the count. The fight was over instantly. What made it unsettling wasn't just the knockout, but how inevitable it felt. Even the referee had seen it coming, watching Georges' eyes lose focus seconds before the end. Crawford wasn't just winning rounds. He was reading his opponent and closing the book exactly when he chose. As the years passed and the stakes rose, Crawford's style only sharpened. By December 2016, he was no longer a prospect but a unified champion, defending his WBO and WBC junior welterweight titles against John Molina Jr. Molina came in heavy, aggressive, and defiant, the kind of fighter who thrived on chaos and pressure. But there was a strange tension hanging over the fight. Molina had missed weight. He couldn't win the titles, but Crawford could lose them if things went wrong. From the opening bell, that danger never materialized. Crawford controlled distance effortlessly, switching stances as if it were second nature, confusing Molina at every turn. Body shots thudded with sickening sound, draining whatever energy Molina tried to build. As the rounds passed, Molina's bravado turned into desperation. By the 8th, Crawford sensed the end. A sharp combination dropped Molina, and the referee stepped in immediately. The finish was emphatic, a reminder that great champions don't just dominate, they close. Any lingering criticism about Crawford's finishing instincts was silenced that night. He didn't just defend his titles. He made a statement about who he was becoming. That statement grew louder in June 2018, when Crawford moved up to welterweight to challenge Jeff Horn for the WBO title. Horn was bigger, rougher, and carried the confidence of a man who had already shocked the world by beating Manny Pacquiao. From the start, Horn tried to impose himself, lunging forward, throwing awkward shots, using his size to bully exchanges. For brief moments, he found success, even landing clean punches that reminded everyone Crawford was human. But skill has a way of suffocating chaos. Crawford's counters landed with surgical accuracy. Every time Horn stepped in, he was met with something sharp in return. By the later rounds, Horn's aggression turned reckless. In the 9th, Crawford unleashed everything: a left hand, a right hook, an uppercut, each punch flowing into the next with terrifying smoothness. Horn was knocked down, battered into the corner, and finished without mercy. When it was over, Crawford stood as a 3 division champion, undefeated, having dismantled a man who was supposed to outmuscle him. It wasn't just a win, it was domination disguised as patience. In December 2019, Crawford faced Edgidijus Kavaliauskas, known as Mean Machine, an undefeated mandatory challenger with a reputation for toughness and pressure. From the opening bell, the fight was violent, both men exchanging, neither backing down. Kavaliauskas started brightly, pushing Crawford, testing him, even hurting him in moments. But Crawford has always had an uncanny ability to sense shifts in momentum. Somewhere in the chaos, he smelled weakness. He began applying pressure, breaking Kavaliauskas down inch by inch. In the 7th round, a brutal combination sent the challenger to the canvas. Though Kavaliauskas fought back with heart, the damage was accumulating. By the 9th, Crawford was in complete control. A perfectly timed uppercut snapped Kavaliauskas' head back, followed by a single crushing punch that ended the fight instantly. It was the kind of finish that made everything before it feel like buildup. Crawford had absorbed pressure, adjusted, and then annihilated his opponent with chilling efficiency. Perhaps one of the most revealing fights of Crawford's career came in November 2021 against Shawn Porter. Porter was no stranger to elite competition, a former champion known for relentless pressure and physicality. From the opening seconds, Porter charged forward, forcing Crawford into exchanges that demanded respect. For rounds, the fight was tense, competitive, and physical. Porter landed, Crawford countered, and neither man gave ground ice. But as the fight wore on, Crawford's precision began to tell. His counters grew sharper, his timing more ruthless. In the 10th round, everything changed. Crawford unleashed a devastating sequence that dropped Porter twice. The punishment was so severe that Porter's own father signaled the end. No one had ever stopped Shawn Porter before. Crawford had done what no one else could, not with wild aggression, but with calculated violence applied at exactly the right moment. By December 2022, Crawford remained the WBO welterweight champion, undefeated, and firmly established as one of the most technically gifted fighters alive. David Avanesian came in as a tough, aggressive challenger, intent on pressing the action and breaking Crawford's rhythm. Early rounds saw Avanesian trying to impose himself, forcing exchanges, working the body. Crawford absorbed it calmly, adjusting step by step. Then, in the 6th round, the opening appeared. A perfectly timed uppercut landed flush, followed by a hook that ended the fight instantly. Avanesian fell, and the champion stood tall once more. It was another reminder that Crawford doesn't rush finishes. He waits, studies, and strikes with precision that leaves no room for recovery. Long before welterweight glory, before undisputed status, Crawford faced one of his most dramatic tests in June 2014 against Yuriorkis Gamboa. Both men entered undefeated, both highly skilled, both dangerous. Early on, Gamboa's speed caused problems. He looked sharp, confident, and willing to exchange, but once Crawford settled, the tide turned violently. In the 5th round, Crawford dropped Gamboa with a crushing combination. Gamboa rose, fighting on instinct more than balance. He was dropped again in the 8th, yet refused to quit. In a moment of drama, Gamboa even rocked Crawford in the 9th, reminding everyone how dangerous he still was. That moment of vulnerability was brief. Crawford responded immediately, flattening Gamboa with a brutal left hook. The fight ended with Crawford standing victorious in his hometown, having survived adversity and proven his resilience. It wasn't just a title defense, it was a declaration that he could weather storms and still destroy. October 2018 brought another test in Jose Benavidez Jr., an undefeated fighter whose career had nearly ended after being shot. His comeback story was powerful, his will undeniable. Early rounds were cautious, both men feeling each other out. But once Crawford shifted gears, the difference was stark. His speed, his angles, his shot selection began to break Benavidez down. By the final round, Crawford ensured there would be no doubt. A massive right hand ended the fight, a ruthless conclusion that underlined his reputation as one of the best closers in the sport. Champions don't just win, they finish when it matters most. And Crawford did exactly that. The pinnacle of Crawford's dominance came in August 2017, when he faced Julius Indongo in a bid to become the first undisputed champion of the four-belt era at 140 pounds. Indongo was undefeated, confident, and holding 2 titles of his own. Early on, Crawford sent a warning with a knockdown in the 2nd round, a clean body shot that sucked the air from Indongo's lungs. In the following round, Crawford ended it with one of the most vicious body shots boxing has seen. Indongo crumpled, unable to rise. In that moment, Crawford stood alone as the undisputed champion of the world. It wasn't chaos. It was precision, timing, and absolute authority. Across divisions, across opponents, across years. Terry.